and welcome to my barn. Just thought I might take a couple of minutes and introduce you to some classic WH&S, work health and safety techniques that should be used around most stables. Follow me this way. I'm sure you'll see my horse catching up in a moment. Okay, first thing that we need to note are the buckets. We collect quite a lot of water here if we possibly can, so we're reserving water that drips off the roof. Notice though that they're all lined up and minimal clutter where the horses will go in and out. Just come through here, just wide enough for a human, not wide enough for a horse. Okay, one of the first things that you're going to notice is my clothing. In a work health and safety environment, you should wear a full shirt so that if a horse tries to grab you, it's more likely to grab your shirt. And of course, you'll have some sun protection. Good sturdy pants, and of course, the Mark 1 gumboot, or Wellington boot for my UK friends, is not work health and safety. So I'm just going to change that before we start. I've tied all the chains back against the walls. This is my barn. I have two horses here. I have a 17 three-hand horse that occupies this stable here. And I have a 16 two-hand horse whom you have met before, who occupies this stable at the end. You have met my 16 two-hand horse before, called Lundstrom, aka Chubby, in the picture now, when we did our catching a horse and how to use a quick release knot. The worst thing that people will do in a barn is have clutter everywhere. Make sure you're organised. Make sure, if your horses are sensitive to electric tape, that you exclude them from areas you don't want them to come into unless invited. We also store wheelbarrows and farm implements that we require to clean the stables inside, again, another chain or secure area. You'll also notice that most of the gear that we use in the particular season, this one being winter, will be stored inside a 44-gallon drum with a substantial lid. Good pair of sturdy gloves in case we need to do some cleaning up. And today we're going to talk about some stretches with a horse. This will be another video clip. Hence we have the carrot treats there. Up here we use hooks to hang our halters and things when they're not in use, so we can hang them neatly and also find them. Any rugs that might go at night time are folded correctly. You'll notice that most of my leg straps have now disintegrated. These would have been rugs that have been repaired many times and have now become stable rugs rather than waterproof heavy rugs. And what I do is I use baling twine instead of leg straps, because there's nothing worse, in my opinion, for a horse than to have 6 lots of loops between its legs, and you'll see it try and get out of the paddock like this. Okay, which takes us to this area. Handy signage. Okay, so some of the things you would see. This is my PowerPoint box. Underneath we have several PowerPoints and also the lights from the top. All underneath the box, that if a horse is tied here, he cannot get onto the electrics. The hot tap or hot water system, because my horses are a little spoilt and require hot water after exercise, particularly at night. I leave that covered. A lot of people will have that attached obviously permanently to a gas bottle. That should be kept out of the way. Alright, so having gas bottles stacked where a horse is coming out of the barn, not a clever practice. You'll also notice here I've got some common signage. Some of them I've had particularly made for when I lecture. So here, obviously, smoking in a barn environment where you have sawdust, hay and the alike, extremely dangerous. Secondly, You should wear head protection of some description, a helmet, not a baseball cap, which is not safety approved, when you're working around young horses doing anything. Correct footwear we've already talked about. Decent, sturdy boots. These happen to have steel caps. If you're dealing with Clydesdales or extremely heavy horses, there are some, the verdict is out on whether you have a steel cap or not, because if you cross the steel cap, you can obviously amputate your toes. I have my boots half a size bigger than normal because I find that when a horse treads, he will normally tread on the outer perimeter or the inner perimeter if you're unlucky. But it gives you enough leather to be able to pull away. Classic sign for a horse. Never trust that a horse will not kick. You may have known that horse all your life. In the case of Lundstrom, I got him as a 3-year-old and he's now 14. If they are offended in any way and you are not tuned into that horse's non-verbal communication, they will kick. It's that simple. And a classic one for my barn, which most people don't use, but in the case of my half Clydie, my vet is always telling me my half Clydie is overweight. So when we go places, we hang this, unfortunately, the card of shame on his stable door. Because he is such a loving creature, he will eat anything people give him. I'm now going to catch my horse and I will show you some simple stretching exercises. Thank you for listening.